All right, I got to take some time to address this here.
Agents took Sean Diddy Combs into custody. He's seen in this video entering the Park Hyatt Hotel in Midtown Manhattan with others when agents from Homeland Security Investigations approach and separate him. They place Combs under arrest and lead him out the front door in handcuffs.
It's no secret that celebrity circles often have deeper, darker layers than we could ever imagine. But what if one of the most beloved faces on television, the man behind the jokes, the life lessons, and those infamous motivational speeches, was hiding a connection that could shatter his entire public image? This time, we're not just talking about the latest Hollywood rumor. No, this goes way beyond that. The whispers connecting Steve Harvey to Diddy's notorious parties, the very ones under investigation, have resurfaced in a major way. And now, with Diddy facing an avalanche of legal troubles, fingers are beginning to point in Steve's direction, casting doubt on everything we thought we knew about the man.
Why doesn't the government want him to turn himself in? Because then they can't ask for detention. So they go and they arrest him. They arrest a guy who came to New York to turn himself in.
The allegations, well, they aren't just about casual celebrity friendships. What we're dealing with here is the potential for something much more sinister, with Steve Harvey's name suddenly cropping up in conversations about underground gatherings, secret recordings, and even the shocking behavior happening behind closed doors. It's the kind of situation that could leave fans absolutely speechless, wondering if the man who's made a career out of being the voice of reason has been playing us all along. But let's rewind for a second and take a closer look at how Steve's seemingly close connection to Diddy became one of the most talked about stories today.
The issue is, it seems as though he wants to kind of like exert power and dominance over people who don't really want it.
It all starts with Diddy, who, as we know, has been a central figure in not only the music industry, but also the world of lavish, often controversial parties. For decades, Diddy has hosted star-studded events where almost anything could happen, and for years, rumors have swirled about what really goes on at these exclusive gatherings. Sure, we've heard about the wild scenes, the extravagant behavior, but until now, those rumors didn't seem to stick. But things took a dramatic turn after a series of accusations linked Diddy to some rather disturbing activities. His empire started crumbling under the weight of legal trouble, and suddenly, it wasn't just Diddy in the hot seat. Other high-profile figures connected to him began to feel the heat as well.
And in this lawsuit, he claims that essentially P. Diddy was the Epstein of the rap industry.
And this is where Steve Harvey's name first entered the conversation in a way no one saw coming. Sources close to the situation claim that Steve was more than just an occasional guest at Diddy's parties. He was reportedly a regular attendee at these controversial events, some of which have now come under heavy scrutiny. The question that's now being raised is, how much did Steve know? And even worse, could he have been actively involved in the darker side of Diddy's inner circle?
That clearly there is a criminal investigation underway and that they believe that there would be evidence of crimes in one or both of these homes.
For context, Diddy's gatherings were notorious for their extravagant nature, often bringing together Hollywood's elite, big-name musicians, and even political figures. But as we'd come to learn, some of these parties weren't just about having a good time. Allegedly, these events were tightly controlled, with strict rules and non-disclosure agreements signed by attendees to ensure that what happened behind closed doors stayed there. But it's what was happening behind those closed doors that has sent shockwaves through the industry.
Replete with very, very serious and salacious allegations, including allegations that Combs had cameras throughout his.
One of the most alarming details to come out of recent investigations involves reports of hidden cameras scattered throughout Diddy's various properties. Yes, cameras placed without the knowledge or consent of the guests. According to insider accounts, these cameras captured footage of celebrities, executives, and high-profile guests engaging in activities they'd prefer to keep private. Some sources even suggest that this footage was used as leverage, allowing Diddy and his inner circle to maintain control over those who attended. If true, it would mean that Diddy's parties weren't just wild. They were meticulously documented, and those tapes could be the key to unraveling everything.
And a lot of the evidence, alleged evidence, that's been gathered in this case was from those two raids that were conducted on his personal homes in Miami and Los Angeles. And the indictment names the things seized that he allegedly made videos of these performances that have been named freak-offs.
So, where does Steve Harvey fit into all of this? Well, according to some sources, Steve wasn't just a passive bystander. Allegedly, he was well aware of the cameras and the recordings, with some even suggesting that he was involved in ensuring that certain guests remained on their best behavior, or at least that's the story being whispered behind the scenes. This paints a much different picture of Steve Harvey, doesn't it? The idea that he could have been complicit or even involved in orchestrating certain aspects of these gatherings is enough to make anyone question his carefully curated public persona.
Well, if he really was filming everybody, I mean, he had a lot of people at those parties, right?
But before we jump to conclusions, let's take a look at the timeline of events that have led to these shocking rumors. While Steve has always maintained a relatively clean public image, his connection to Diddy has been a subject of speculation for years. Back in the day, it wasn't uncommon to see Steve rubbing elbows with the mogul at high-profile events, charity galas, and even in social media posts. They seemed like two men who had a mutual respect for one another. Two kings of their respective industries. But as Diddy's legal troubles intensified, some began to look closer at the company he kept, and Steve's name started popping up more and more.
Had clients describe NBC as hell, as the worst conditions they've been in.
The real bombshell, however, came when sources close to Diddy's camp began leaking details about some of the more unsavory aspects of his parties. And it's here where things get especially murky for Steve. It's one thing to attend a celebrity event or be associated with a powerful figure in the entertainment world, but it's another thing entirely to be connected to the kind of activities that have now come to light. Insiders claim that Steve was seen at several of these gatherings, often in the company of other high-profile figures who are now also facing increased scrutiny. Could Steve have turned a blind eye to what was happening around him, or was he more deeply involved than we ever realized?
And I remember, like, I don't know if you know what his voice sounds like, but like, I felt like I was in the presence of his monster.
In the midst of all these rumors, one thing is clear. Steve Harvey's connection to Diddy is no longer something that can be brushed off as a mere friendship. What started as industry buzz has now become a full-blown narrative with far-reaching implications. As more information comes to light, it's becoming increasingly difficult for Steve to maintain his distance from the fallout. And here's where things take a dramatic turn. There are whispers, loud ones, that Steve might have known his time was running out, and that's why he made a swift exit before the feds could close in.
Now you got the Diddy situation where he jumps on a private jet, they say yesterday, and is on his way to the Cape Verde Islands.
That's right. Reports are surfacing that Steve Harvey may have fled the country to avoid being caught up in Diddy's legal web. According to multiple sources, Steve's departure wasn't just a spontaneous decision. Some believe that he had been tipped off by someone on the inside, someone who knew that the authorities were closing in on Diddy and his associates. If true, this suggests a level of foresight and planning that raises even more questions about Steve's involvement. Did he know more than he was letting on? Was his sudden disappearance an attempt to distance himself from the growing scandal?
You know, I think in federal court and for these charges, they would say it's routine, but in the public realm, this is very significant, just from who we associate Diddy being and everything we've seen him do over the decades. Like you said, this is quite the downfall to go from, I mean, we saw the mansions back in March that were raided by the feds. So to go from living in those mansions to being in a jail cell.
And where did Steve go? Well, that's still up for debate. Some say he's been spotted in a country with no extradition treaty with the United States, effectively putting him out of reach of any legal consequences. Others claim that Steve is simply keeping a low profile, waiting patiently until the pressure eases up. Either way, his sudden absence hasn't gone unnoticed, and it's only added fuel to the fire of speculation surrounding his role in this unfolding drama.
Now, if the government is going to mandate that they are responsible for your well-being, they have to ensure the safety of your well-being.
Of course, we have to ask ourselves, if Steve really is innocent, why flee? Surely, a man with his reputation, his resources, and his connections wouldn't need to run if he had nothing to hide, right? But as anyone in the public eye knows, perception is everything. And right now, the perception surrounding Steve Harvey is that he's running from something or someone.
And I hung the phone up. I went upstairs. I said, Marjorie down. I said, Marjorie, we got a problem. When I explained it to her, Marjorie started crying.
What's even more intriguing is the timing of all of this. Diddy's arrest sent shockwaves through the entertainment world, but it seems like Steve's alleged departure was perfectly timed to avoid the worst of the fallout. Coincidence? Perhaps. But when you start piecing together the rumors, the allegations, and the insider reports, it starts to paint a very different picture of what might have been going on behind the scenes.
Do you believe Diddy is a dangerous person?
Yes.
There are even reports that Steve's team has been working overtime to control the narrative, trying to keep his name out of the press as much as possible. It's a strategy that's worked, for now. But as Diddy's legal battles continue to escalate, it's only a matter of time before more details emerge. And when they do, Steve's name might be dragged further into the spotlight. Let's not forget, Diddy is fighting for his life in court right now. The charges against him are serious, and they carry potential consequences that could see him behind bars for a long time. If Steve is connected to any of these allegations, even tangentially, it could spell disaster for his career. And if the rumors about Steve's escape are true, then the feds are likely already keeping a close eye on his movements, waiting for the right moment to bring him in. But what about the logistics of Steve's rumored escape? How did he pull it off? According to those close to the situation, Steve had been planning his exit for weeks, if not months. Some sources claim that he quietly liquidated assets, transferring property and funds into offshore accounts to ensure that he would be able to maintain his lifestyle, even if he was forced to stay abroad for an extended period. Others believe that Steve had help from a network of powerful friends who aided in his departure, ensuring that he would be able to slip out of the country without drawing too much attention.
The rumors are that Diddy was running some kind of Epstein-type deal where he was filming everybody, right?
That's the rumors, yeah. I don't know that there's any proof or anything other than that.
But even with all the speculation, one thing remains clear. Steve Harvey's connection to Diddy's world has raised more questions than answers. Could he really have been involved in the activities taking place at those infamous parties? Did he know about the hidden cameras, the recordings, the potential blackmail, or is he just another victim of circumstance caught up in a scandal that's spiraling out of control? As we wait for more information to come to light, one thing is for sure. Steve Harvey's clean-cut image may never be the same. The more we learn about his alleged ties to Diddy, the more it seems like we've only scratched the surface of a much larger story. And with Steve seemingly out of the picture, at least for now, it's anyone's guess how this will all play out. The authorities are surely watching. And with Diddy's legal troubles intensifying, it may only be a matter of time before we get the answers we've been waiting for. So, as we move into the next phase of this unfolding drama, one has to wonder, how deep does this rabbit hole really go? Steve's rumored escape might just be the beginning of this tangled web, but as shocking as his sudden disappearance is, there's another side of the story that adds a whole new layer of intrigue. His relationship with his wife, Marjorie Harvey. While their marriage might seem rock solid from the outside, whispers about Marjorie's past and Steve's own scandals have led to speculation that perhaps things aren't as picture perfect as they seem. In fact, if you dig a little deeper, there's a shadowy history that seems to loom over Marjorie, one that stretches back long before she became Mrs. Harvey.
We all saw it posted yesterday all over our social media pages. Cassie filed a lawsuit in New York City against Diddy.
Yikes.
She's claiming she was stuck in a decade-long cycle of abuse.
To get the full picture, we have to start with Marjorie's history before she met Steve. Now, it's no secret that she's had some intriguing ties to questionable characters in the past. Rumor has it that Marjorie was once romantically involved with not one, but two men connected to the world of high-stakes crime. Her first marriage was to Jim Townsend, a man who wasn't exactly known for following the straight and narrow. In fact, he was involved in a large-scale operation, and when he was arrested, he faced a long sentence. According to some accounts, Marjorie was nearly caught up in the investigation herself. Some even say she was warned that she'd be arrested unless she cooperated, a claim that, if true, would suggest she narrowly avoided a major scandal of her own. And as if that wasn't enough, after Townsend, Marjorie reportedly moved on to Donald Woods, another man with a checkered past. Like Townsend, Woods was involved in similar activities, adding another layer to Marjorie's already complicated backstory. This kind of past would be enough to spark rumors, but when you add her marriage to Steve Harvey into the mix, things start to get even murkier. Some sources even suggest that Marjorie's past might be coming back to haunt them both now, especially given the allegations swirling around Steve and his connections to Diddy.
There are some problems that the defense has brought up originally, but it seems like, just from reading this 14-page indictment, that there is enough physical evidence to perhaps get a conviction in this case. We shall see. These are allegations.
So how does all of this tie back to Steve's current predicament? Well, let's not forget that Steve has had his fair share of scandals over the years. Cheating rumors have plagued him for almost as long as he's been in the spotlight, with various reports claiming that he hasn't exactly been the model husband he portrays himself to be. If even half of these rumors are true, it suggests a pattern of behavior that might not just be limited to his romantic life. And it makes one wonder, could his connections to Diddy's world and Marjorie's past hint at something darker beneath the surface?
Not only should he have apologized to Cassie in that video, he should have apologized to all of the general public that he lied to.
Adding fuel to the fire, Steve's alleged affiliations have long raised eyebrows, with some suggesting he has ties to individuals with questionable backgrounds. Of course, much of this is rumor and speculation, but in a world where perception is everything, these whispers can be enough to tarnish even the most carefully constructed public image. Steve's attempts to distance himself from any association with these individuals haven't stopped the rumors from swirling. And now, with Diddy facing serious charges, it's no surprise that Steve's name is being dragged into the mix.
And Stacey, you say today's indictment reads like a mob indictment. What was most shocking to you of all these allegations?
Yeah, the fact, Jake, that the government in this indictment presented evidence alleging that Sean Combs was running a criminal enterprise.
One thing that makes this story even more fascinating is that it isn't just the rumors about Marjorie's past or Steve's alleged indiscretions that are at play here. Instead, it's the way these pieces seem to fit together. Both Steve and Marjorie have crafted a public image that revolves around family values, loyalty, and overcoming hardship. But as these stories unfold, it's hard not to question just how genuine that image really is. Are they simply two people who have overcome difficult pasts, or is there something more calculated going on? With all these questions in mind, let's turn back to the present day. As we speak, Diddy is facing a series of legal battles that could potentially unravel his entire empire. The charges against him are severe, and they've already started to pull others into the fray. Steve's name is being whispered alongside Diddy's as people speculate on who else might have been involved in the events that are now under investigation. It's no small thing to be connected to such serious allegations, and if any evidence emerges linking Steve to Diddy's current troubles, it could be the scandal of the decade. For Steve, the stakes couldn't be higher. He spent years building a brand that relies heavily on his reputation as a wise, dependable figure, someone who's overcome adversity to find success. But with every new piece of information that surfaces about Diddy's parties and the people who attended them, that image becomes harder to maintain. If he really was a frequent guest at these gatherings, and if he did know more than he's let on, then the fallout could be devastating.
This has to be a 100% culture shock. I can't imagine living a lifestyle of the incredibly rich and famous and then going into this very dark, impersonal, cold, austere facility.
And it's not just about his public image. There could be legal implications as well. As Diddy's case unfolds, there's a chance that authorities will start looking into his associates, and that could include Steve. If there's any truth to the rumors that Steve knew about or was even complicit in the activities that took place at Diddy's events, then he could find himself facing serious consequences. And given the severity of the charges against Diddy, that's not something to be taken lightly. But what about Marjorie? As Steve's wife, her past could also come under scrutiny. It's no secret that people have long speculated about her connections to the world of crime, and if investigators start looking into Steve's inner circle, they might decide to dig into her background as well. This could open up a whole new chapter in the story, one that pulls in people from Marjorie's past and forces her to confront the skeleton in her closet. And if any of those connections turn out to be linked to the current investigation, it could mean trouble for both of them.
That's of course. There's layers upon layers. When you get into these conspiracy theories, man, they never end. They never end. There's just layers upon layers upon layers.
The thought of Marjorie's past coming back to haunt them both is almost too perfect, given the circumstances. Here we have a couple who have built their brand on the idea of family values, resilience, and faith, but who now find themselves in a situation that threatens to destroy all of that. It's a classic story of a rise and potential fall, and if things continue to escalate, we could be looking at one of the biggest scandals Hollywood has seen in years. So, what's next for Steve and Marjorie? As the investigation into Diddy's activities continues, there's a good chance that more information will come to light. If even a fraction of the rumors about Steve's involvement turn out to be true, he could face serious consequences, both legally and professionally. And if Marjorie's past ends up being connected to this mess in any way, it could spell the end of their carefully curated image as a power couple who overcame adversity. It's a tense situation, and one that's only getting more complicated as time goes on. For now, all we can do is wait and see what new details emerge. But one thing's for sure, this story is far from over, and as Diddy's case unfolds, we're likely to see more names added to the list of those caught up in the scandal.
This is the end of the Diddy story as we know it.
The clock is ticking for Steve Harvey, and with each passing day, the pressure mounts. The world is watching, waiting to see if he'll emerge from this unscathed, or if the weight of the allegations will finally bring him down. For someone who's made a career out of telling others how to live their best lives, this could be the ultimate test of his own resilience. But whether he comes out of this as the man we've always known, or as someone entirely different, remains to be seen. The stakes have never been higher, and the outcome is anything but certain. As for Diddy, the road ahead looks grim. The charges he faces are serious, and if he's found guilty, the consequences could be severe. But the bigger question is how far the fallout will spread. Will it end with him, or will it take down others in his circle? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure. This is a story that's just getting started, and there's no telling where it will end. So, what do you all think? Could Steve Harvey really be hiding a secret so big it could shake his entire legacy? And if the rumors about Marjorie's past are true, how much does that impact your view of them as a couple? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.